For 2025, I'm trying something new, velocity banking. If you're not familiar, it's a debt payoff strategy that uses your income and expenses creatively to reduce interest payments and pay down debt faster. In this video, I'll show you how I'm incorporating velocity banking into my January budget while sticking to my existing tools and strategies. Let's get started. Welcome back to Manifesting Money. Let's set the energy for this session by pulling a tarot card and see what the tarot card will help us guide us to in January. So today we're focusing on balancing between paying down our debt and saving for the future. So let's see what the cards have for us. I am using the Modern Witches Tarot deck. Just give a quick shuffle here. What guidance do the cards have for us as we set up for January using our new payment plan? Oh, jumper. The Four of Pentacles. I love this. So from the book directly, because otherwise I feel like you can't make this stuff up. So the Four of Pentacles, the book says, you've been busy with your balancing act, tightly clutching all your money and material things close in order to help you feel safe and stable. It's been working for a while, but somehow you still can't relax. You might need to give up a little control because all this stress about money isn't making you happy. I love that we're talking about balancing in January, and especially with velocity banking, it's really interesting. So this card really resonates well. So we're remembering that holding all of our money as tight as possible is not necessarily the answer that we need to move forward. So we're just going to put her right there and we're going to get into it. All right. So here is my January budget. We already worked through this a little bit, looking at having all of our bills listed and assigning different paychecks to each of the different bills. None of that has changed with the new velocity banking. So I've already outlined my fixed expenses here. So this is the original budget that we did. So these are my bills, my subscriptions, my fixed budgets. These are my flexible categories here. And then this was going to be my extra debt payment. So flexible spending. So my essentials, these are the things: bills, rent, utility, subscriptions. They're non-negotiables. So we make sure that they're covered first. With my income here, we pay our bills and fixed expenses first. For things like groceries, personal spending, I've set clear things. The tricky thing with velocity banking is that we're going to be using our credit cards to create cash flow to spend these things. So if you don't have fixed spending limits, this can get dicey. So I would not necessarily recommend velocity banking until you have your flexible spending categories figured out. So this is the new budget with I made a velocity banking here. So the idea behind velocity banking is to use your line of credit, like a PLOC, a personal line of credit, BLOC, business line of credit, HELOC, which is your home equity line of credit, or a credit card, as a temporary holding place for your income. So by applying large chunks of our income towards high interest debt, we reduce the principal faster and save on interest. So instead of before, where I would take my income minus my bills and I would have this leftover and apply this leftover to these flexible categories, and then whatever is left gets applied to my credit card payment. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to take all of this leftover and apply it to this credit card, and then use this credit card to pay for these expenses. The reason it works is that by using this amount on this credit card, for one, it satisfies this minimum payment. So I don't need to pay this minimum on top of this, what I would put on there, or even this that I would put on there. I'm going to use this money on this credit card to pay these expenses. Let me break it down for you. So here we have my income, my fixed expenses, including a buffer, since this is going to sit in my checking account. So fixed expenses minus, you'll see here, I've accounted that this Capital One minimum payment is being accounted for with my Velocity Banking, plus my buffer gives me this. So I have a leftover of $298 that I'm going to be transferring to my line of credit. In this case, it's going on my Capital One credit card. I did put a little line there. Does this amount satisfy the minimum payment? Yes, it does. The minimum payment for this was $89. So now that I've moved this whole $298 to this credit card, I'm going to use this to pay for my gas, my fast food, my personal expenses, and my kid expenses. These are all flexible categories. So with $100 of flexible categories, that means I have a leftover payment or a leftover amount of $198. And that is going to sit on my Capital One credit card, lowering my interest, satisfying my minimum payment, and overall helping me pay off this credit card much faster. So before I was putting just this 108 on there, and it would hit, once I put this minimum payment, it was all very sus. Like the numbers haven't changed, but it's how that those numbers are going to affect the interest that I'm charged on that credit card, which is going to help me pay it down faster. So let's look ahead and do this. So now for my expense trackers, I'm going to have two. I have the Capital One credit card expense tracker that I'm going to be using to track my flexible categories. So I might actually go ahead and move this to here. That way I have my budget, my expense tracker for the credit card account, the flexible categories that account is tracking, and then my Capital One checking account, which is going to be where I pay my bills and all of my fixed expenses. So let's go ahead while we're here, because I always think you should have your budget set up well in advance of actually getting your paycheck. So what I want to do is we're going to go ahead and set up the second paycheck in January, doing the Velocity Banking method, just so I can show you how that works out. So I'm going to come in here. We are going to insert the current template, which gives me a blank copy of that monthly one. So I'm going to borrow this because it's cute. Come over here. All right. And then what we can do is we will look back at the calendar, pull that up here. And we're going to do our split screen trick to look at both of them at the same time. We're going to get through to the new one here. So we can start filling this out based on what we have. So I'm going to get my pen. So the income is going to be the same. So I'm going to have my rollover. I'm going to have my VCA paycheck. I assume that my rollover is going to be that $50 buffer that I have set aside. My paycheck will probably be there. So that gives me my total for this paycheck budget. And this is for the purple paycheck here. So this will be the second one, and that is happening on 17th. And just so that we're clear, that is this pretty purple paycheck. So now what we do is we look through the calendar, and we're going to put down all of the fixed expenses that need to be accounted for with this paycheck. So if we look here at the 17th, which is the first day, I know that I'm going to have my groceries, which is my normal amount. $100 that I always set aside. Next, we're going to have more money for the kids. Like my CapCut subscription comes out of this. All right, let's see what's next. My next savings, we want to count for that. The ink comes out of this one. Oh. And let's see what else. Usually, what I will do is that I will rotate this so that it is much easier to see the two. But sometimes the screen recording does not like the flip, so that's why I'm doing it the hard way, so that we can keep track of everything. So so we did HP Inc. comes out on the 22nd. Progressive was covered with the blue paycheck. We'll have Hulu on the 28th, and that is 18. Alliant was covered with the first paycheck of the month. Spectrum. The 30th. And then I'm also going to pay the mortgage for February out of this as well. All right, I'm going to zoom out and make sure that that's everything that has the purple mark, which is the second paycheck of the month. And then we're going to get back into here. Okay. So the next step from here is I like to take a moment to categorize and highlight what needs to be. So purple, since I've already grabbed that, this is going to be my subscriptions. So HP Inc. is a subscription. Hulu is a subscription. CapCut. And then I have my grocery color or money color. Thanks. And then fixed bills, Spectrum, and mortgage. Okay. So the next step is going to be to total up these bills. So that leaves me 1,116 total bills. So we've got our 1,300 expected income minus our bills. So we have 184 is what's left over. I'm not going to put any money in my sinking funds at this time, just because that's a low amount, and we want to make sure that that's working for us. So what I'm going to do now is we take our total amount that we have here. So it's going to be this 184, and that we're going to transfer the whole amount into my line of credit, which is going to be my Capital One credit card. So the transfer into here is going to be 184. I already paid my minimum payment with the first paycheck of this month, so I don't have to worry about that. My flexible categories this month are going to be, or this paycheck are going to be exactly what they were this time. So because we're digital, baby, we'll just grab it, copy it, bring it over. Okay. Okay, so now back in here. So the budget that I have for these categories, I don't know why you're acting that way. Oh, because it's trying to do text up here. There we go. Okay. And I know that these flexible total is $100 here. So my leftover is $84, and I am going to put that, and not put it, I'm going to leave it on that credit card. Capital One. All right, so we have a remaining $84. I'm putting all of that, leaving all of that on the credit card to pay that off, which means we're paying an extra $84, and we'll have nothing left over, which is what you want with a zero-based budget. So these first two paychecks in January, I'm already putting, let's see, we've got 84 from this paycheck and 198 from the first paycheck. I'm already paying $282 on that credit card. And that's on top of reducing that income because I'm parking this big amount on there, because I'm parking this total amount on there before I spend these. My income is, or my interest is going to be lower. So that is how I am using Velocity Banking here in January. I plan on using it because it just makes sense. I plan on using it for the whole year to see how fast I can pay down this credit card. With just having one credit card, it really simplifies this process. If you have more than one credit card, it can be a little bit more complicated. So it's really important to make sure that you are setting these spending limits. I feel like this is the most important part, because it's on your credit card and you have that extra buffer. You might think, oh, I have room for it, I can just get it. And if you're spending back up on your credit card, it's going to erase the progress that you're making. So having a really set and strong budget for your flexible categories is really what makes this process sing. So this strategy isn't necessarily going to be for everyone, but it definitely aligns with my 2025 goal of paying off my debt faster. So I'll definitely be sharing updates throughout the years to let you know how this is working for me. But yeah, that's it. That's my January budget now set up. And my first step into Velocity Banking. So let me know in the comments if you've tried this method or you're curious to learn more. Don't forget the free budget trackers that I used are linked below, including this one that I made specifically for Velocity Banking. This is the one area where being a cashless budgeter is really awesome, because if you just have that paper money, that's not helping your credit at all. And the debt snowball and the debt avalanche method are actually two of the slower methods for paying off debt. So for all of my cashless budgeters out there, this is a way that we can take advantage of doing it a little bit different than the most popular way and seeing how far we can get with this. So if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more budgeting tips, money magic, and financial inspiration. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.